What is your favorite anime?
Mine's Skrillex.
Skrillex.
I'm so distanced from human sensibilities and stuff.
Was getting caught part of your plan?
もちろんだ.
Put your tray tables up and your seat in the full upright position, because this is the Flight Plan, the official podcast of Big Guy for You Scanlations, Japan's #1 Bane posting manga scanlation podcast. Join the flight crew, Tom and Naden, as we bounce about all the anime, all the manga, and all that scanlation content. What are we talking about today, Tom?
Oh, I'll play it straight. I was really tempted to do some kind of scouter joke, some kind of over 9,000 joke, but seeing as how this isn't 15 years ago, we're talking about power levels.
It's
how
funny.
to hide them.
We did just do like a 45-minute pre-show talking about like power levels and old school memery, which only the super exclusive paywall members will ever get to see.
Yeah, it's called your recycle bin on your computer.
But before we get into the hot and heavy topic of today, I've been told you sent the carrier pigeon earlier this week, and it just arrived earlier today. Now I'm told you do have some correction corners.
Oh, of course. So last week we touched upon pricing of body pillows, if you recall, and I did some research. And,
yes, excellent. Some research.
So let's recap predictions. Like, how much do you think a pillowcase costs?
Pillow and pillowcase, or like
just the case?
Just the case?
Both, because I have price ranges for both.
Just the case is anywhere from $20 to $50 is what I think.
That's pretty accurate. Those are about the prices. I think 27 was the lowest I saw. I only looked at like one or two sites, so this might not be like a complete average, but 30 to 50 is what I had written down. What about
that's
pillow?
not too bad.
No, yeah, that's good.
I would guess probably similar.
Well, I saw the lowest one was 60, and then the highest one was 200.
Wow. Yeah, I guess that is a big jump. I knew it would be deceptively expensive.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think normal quality pillows are pretty expensive anyway, aren't they? I haven't bought a pillow in like a year.
I mean, because you make like the Tempur-Pedic and the Therapeutic and the head pillows, but when you're talking about a throw pillow for like a couch or something, you can get that
like
for pretty cheap.
a sleeping pillow.
Yeah, but it's like people aren't using
human head.
I guess I'm just not well caught up on the pillow market.
Yeah, well, 60 to 200 for a anime girl sized pillow. They had special pillows on one of the sites where they have individual legs.
I have seen that. Yeah, I have seen the individual legs.
And I think I think they sell them unfinished, because I think it said that there's like a hole somewhere, so it's like, I don't know what, maybe stuff it yourself. Oh no.
Yeah, I'm gonna be stuffing it myself. Do you save money if you get a lowly sized pillow when you get one of those?
I don't know. I mean, you save money on rent, because then they send you to jail.
Hey, that's like, you get 3 square meters a day. You get to work out all day. You basically live the neat lifestyle.
You get to make a lot of friends too.
Oh, I'm sure.
But yeah, that was my corrections corner piece. Just the pillow prices. Pillow talk, as I like to.
The pillow prices weekly segment. It's like the NASDAQ tracker, where you track the stocks. We track the prices of pillows.
Right. Got the candlestick charts and that's the extent of my stock knowledge.
Exactly. You got the heady topper and the I forget all the reversals and things like that. I have a little bit of a corrections corner. It's not really corrections because I did nothing wrong, but you pointed out that I did put the wrong meme on one of the post shows last week. It was supposed to show an Naruto meme, but instead it showed, I don't even know what it showed, Become a Funker, which was still one of my favorite segments just because it was so completely ridiculous. I still don't even understand what a funker is, but we had a good time last week. If you haven't seen that episode, go back and take a look.
Yep. Yeah, so that was your whole corrections corner. I thought you had something actual of value, but
no. See, I don't make very many mistakes.
Corner.
I don't make mistakes that I have to correct very often because I'm just basically perfect. You know who else is perfect?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Speaking of no, it's our passengers. We have the best passengers, don't we, folks? The best fans.
Believe me.
On last week's episode of The Flight School, Carlos Rios, and we did talk about this last episode, but we've got new addendums to it. He said it should have been called The Joy of Scanlating, to which we did kind of talk about. We're not sure what he's memeing there, but we You have to go back and listen to that
I think it was Bob Ross, like what you said.
I think that's what it was too. Yeah. Anyway, a couple days later, Nikki comes on and says, "Don't give him any ideas." And I said, "It's too late. We've already seen all the ideas. We're growing stronger." Like it's
good.
It's a mix of
right
all
there.
the different memes. Yeah, we mix them up. I've been trying to recreate our own memes by combining them together.
It's real memes are it's like jazz. It's free form.
Do you like jazz?
I don't know that one.
That's from the Bee movie when the bee played by Jerry Seinfeld is trying to pick up a human girl. Like they end up going on dates. Yeah, I mean, in Obama's America, that's normal. Who knows? Anyway,
I've never actually seen Bee movie. I mean, I've seen the memes. Like, what is it? Like 2 years ago, maybe 1 year ago.
I've seen the ones where it's like Bee movie done in like 2 minutes. Basically, it's sped up every time he says bee or something. Anyway.
Yeah, I think I watched that one.
Later that day, Nikki comments on the same video. "I want to see how many title jokes Tom can fit into the series before he needs to commit Sudoku." I personally love to just see the memes that we use, like still used by people.
Well, it's not technically ours, but I see what you mean.
Dude,
What's a title joke?
Which is actually, I don't want to pull it, but it was actually Aiden's joke. I came up with the world record scanlation speed run any percent. I actually came up with that. What was the one you wanted to be?
I told you in the actual video, if you had watched it, it says something to the effect of, "I want to put a speedrunning joke into the title," and then I relayed that information to you when you named the video.
Okay, how about a joint effort, 50-50? We'll do that.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I get 50, and then I get the other 50, right?
We'll see how that is. Anyway, I replied, "This will be his ultimate test," which it absolutely is. I actually commented on the own video. I said, "Near simultaneous release with the final chapter of Tsurugi no Nai. Don't forget to read that first." Yeah. So if you want to go back and you want to watch last week's episode, make sure you read the chapters before you get that, because we got all those spoilers in there.
Yep.
This is actually one that we might be able to talk about for a little bit. Is Devin Jackson leaves a comment on the Tsurugi no Nai chapter, and he says he's never heard of it but F, because we said press F to pay respects. And he says, "Edit, I just read both the Sword Girl and Demon Girl manga, and the Sword one was pretty fun, but the Demon Girl, while cute, was weird." Now, I have a question for you, Devin. How did you find us if you don't even read Tsurugi? I figure that's where most of our traffic comes from.
I would think so too. Most of the manga views are on that one.
So I don't know. Maybe he's been a long time passenger
guy, or he's looking for Bane posts. That's how he found it.
I mean, we do have the best Bane posters around, and this is a great flight to be on, so we're super glad to have you. On one of the videos, we had Cly say, "Thinks I prefer QB. Magical girls have it easier." And that's on the video we had with the Mega Minute, where we had Truck Sama, who sends heroes to isekais. Yeah. So instead of the Trucks sending them there, QB, who's that little looks like half between Digimon
Madoka. The white little cat rabbit dude.
Yeah, who's actually like I don't want to spoil it, but like an evil demon type thing. And what a great, that was definitely a trope breaker for that series.
Yeah, it was a trendsetter as well.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I actually enjoyed that one pretty well. And I replied, "Magical girls represent," which is actually a line from that rap that I unironically like about magical girls.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Magical girls represent.
I would kind of like to do a magical girl manga, just because like I've said previously, I like the magic school trope, which isn't magical girl.
That's a different.
But sometimes they might have some overlap, and I do want to do a series with lots of girls, so we could do the waifu bracket. Of course.
Look, you've got your girls, you've got your magic, you've got your transformation scenes where you're like to just pixelated nudity. Like, what more do you want? Like, I don't know. I mean, what you want is out of our ability to provide you. If you want anything more than that.
Do we have more comments? Because if not, I could segue into my next little topic here.
I got one more comment, and then we can segue to the next.
Then we'll get back
Remember
to the
that.
magic girls.
We got Hashia Han, who says Nintendo Ninjas XD, and that's from when we talked about
Nice.
the Nintendo Ninjas that will come to your house. They're part of, like, it's a lawyer team actually. Anyway, I replied that they're part of the stories Japanese parents tell their kids so they'll behave, or the ninjas will get them. Like, eat your broccoli, or the Nintendo Ninjas will come up and slit your throat.
Yeah, that sounds right. Anyway, back to magical girls. From ninjas to magical girls. I just finished. Remember, like, I think it was episode 1 when I explained how I find manga to scan late. I go on manga updates and I sort through. With the sort criteria I had in place, I think there were 359 pages worth. Each page, I think, had 50 titles. And I just finished that today, going through them.
I'm proud of you.
And this is something that I slowly started around episode 1.
I'm proud of you, son.
And I have maybe like 20 mangas to look into to see if they're good enough to scan. Like one of them might have been Magical Girl related, but there was actually there weren't many to pick from that were Magical Girl related, and I was kind of surprised. I thought that was a really big trope.
I feel like it's from the 90s more, like or the early 2000s, like not
Like Cardcaptor.
Yeah, like Magical
Sailor
Girl.
Moon.
Yeah, is a staple, but a classic staple, like the old
Right.
battle royale shonen style type stuff. Where I mean, now isekai is a new hotness, and like I've been reincarnated into a hot spring and things like.
Right. Yeah, that's a fair point.
How about I've been reincarnated into a magical girl? If you find one of those, we might be hitting top 10.
You know what? I've never seen one like that, and that really surprises me now that you bring it up. Or I've been reincarnated into like a mecha, like a Gundam.
Ooh, that's good. Now, I'll tell you, I have seen gender bender versions of I'm a dude, but I've been gifted with
I've
the
seen
power
those.
of magical girls.
Yeah.
Which
There was this one back in college. I think we were watching some show on Crunchyroll actually, and I hate to admit it, I think it was Fate. But we were watching Fate together, and there was like a commercial for this one like group of like 5 magical schoolboys or something, and they did this thing where do the V sign with your 2 fingers, and then there were 5 of them, and then they linked at the fingers to make a star. Can you envision that?
Yep.
Yeah, we always joke that we need to take a picture like that.
Yeah, you have to. The peace sign, that sign in particular, I feel like, you know how the word bitch has different connotations in Japanese than it does in English? I feel like the peace sign there has different connotations than it does in English.
Not really. I mean, it's like more like victory, I guess.
Well,
like,
I mean, to be fair, the only place I've seen it is at the end of like of a 18 plus rated dojin, like where it's like they're doing the peace sign type deals. And it's like I feel like that has a different connotation than like where you would be doing the peace sign in English, but I'm not entirely sure.
No, I don't think so. I think it's still pretty much the same. I mean, of all the different like lost in translation things, I think that one makes the most sense.
The more you know.
Maybe. I guess to finish off the searching for a new manga topic, we're still looking for new mangas to do next. Open to suggestions. Probably, I would say, like 2 more weeks before I decide on what to do next. So, if you have any suggestions, get them in, and I'll probably be shilling for that for the next couple weeks.
Tom, why don't we transition? Why don't we do the hardest transition possible? We're going to do the Tokyo drifting into the side, like into the 90-degree angle, into the main topic, which is what everybody has come to know and expect with our classic award-winning transitions.
Yeah, it sounded like you want me to say the topic because you've forgotten it, so you were trying to buy time. We're talking about power levels.
Well, I hadn't forgotten it, but I didn't have anything to say.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, with the topics, it's always so hard because it's like, where do you start? So,
at the beginning.
I guess just to be clear, like by power level, we mean like your weeaboo level.
What
So,
your
like,
scouter
to
says.
To the extent that like how big of, I guess, an anime or manga person you are.
How big of a weeaboo?
Yes, exactly.
I feel like there reaches like entry level weeabooism. Like if you have a low power level, you're fine. You like Dragon Ball Z. Like everybody likes Dragon Ball Z. Maybe you like Naruto too. Then you're like, oh, I watch Bleach and One Piece, and then you're a little bit higher. You're still watching things. You're watching Boku Hero Academy, and that's on Adult Swim now. So you're like, yeah, I'm still pretty normie. Yeah, oh yeah, every Saturday.
That's weird. That doesn't seem like an Adult Swim kind of show.
Well, the dub version too. I think I was just watching a couple weeks ago where they were doing the Nomura fight, which was pretty sweet. But who's that big team? He does like I know you've heard this villain One Plus Ultra, where that awesome scene where it's like playing the where he's.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, I don't know. I probably got his names wrong, but
the one where
he's throwing
training?
a 1,000 punches and they're not random either. They're calculated.
Oh yeah, you mean like how he says like, 100% punch doesn't work. I need to do 110% punch.
110% every punch, like, which is like, yeah, that one exactly, which doesn't make sense, but it makes for like the best scene in the entire anime.
Yeah, those are the Nomus, those little brain dudes.
Yeah. So I did get it right. Anyway,
I think you said Nomura.
Well, it's the same thing.
Isn't that the guy behind Kingdom Hearts? Nomura or Final
I've probably
Fantasy,
read it
maybe?
somewhere. I mean, it's canonical in the BG4U canon that I don't know how to pronounce Japanese names. I just kind of like read it as a block of characters. Anyway, that's still a pretty normie tier taste where it's like if you get higher level weeaboo than that, you're like I read things subbed, which is like, it's
Right.
not even that, like, normies still do that, but it's like an extra version of normie.
So
where it's like,
have you heard the term ironic weeaboo? I think that's what that is. To where it's like somebody's pretty entry level into like anime, but they think like, oh, I'm such a nerd, XD, I'm such a weeaboo. That
dude,
type.
I'm gonna hit you with like a horseshoe theory type thing where it's like, I think there's two different versions of ironic weeaboo. There's like weeaboos where like, yeah, like that's, you've hit level 3 and you become an ironic weeaboo, and then you've gone all the way to like level 17 where you've hit back to ironic weeaboo, but the irony is like double layered. I feel like that's where I've been at for.
Give me an example.
You've gone through all of the things about like downloaded subs from IRC. You only watch a certain group's subs. Like, all the tropes. You've read all the TV trope type deals. You're familiar with that. You prefer honorifics, and then it's like you've spent 10 years. I honestly, it might even just be an age thing where you've spent so many years in the culture. Now you ironically like tsunderes because it's like you've gone full circle or something, where it's like, that's where I feel I'm at. I've been so full circle in the weebology that I now unironically like things that a normie would like. That's how I justify it in my mind.
You know what? There might be some truth to that. I have a friend who he's like very entry level weeaboo, and of the three of us who are kind of more into weeaboo garbage, we make fun of him for having bad taste. And honestly, today I was thinking, I can't think of anything that he likes. So I mean, I don't even know if that's a meme or if that was based in truth that we say he has bad taste. But he recommended a show to me, and I really like it, and I hate myself for
what
it.
is it? What is it?
Well, I'm gonna petition that we do it for the Manga Minute next week, so I'm not gonna talk about it yet.
Oh, no. You got it. Because we can talk about what we want to do as a Mega Minute, and then if anybody drops a request, we'll do that the next week.
Oh, okay, all right. I don't even know what the title's called. I call it Psyche, but it's something like Psyche something something something. It's about a pink-haired psychic.
Oh, you did talk to me about this. Yeah, we did talk about this a little bit. That's actually
I
a pretty
told you
old
to
one,
watch
isn't
it.
it?
No, I don't think so.
I think the manga's kind of old, like at
Well, it
least
might
like
be,
a couple
but
years.
I think the anime's only like a year or two max. It's a Netflix thing, I think.
Weird.
Yeah, that's a good one. So I think we should do a Manga Minute on that next time.
That's good. Well, except for the fact that if I try to use any of the clips there, they're going to DMCA my video again. So I'll just have to speed them up and clip them up. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how that works
Get
out.
creative. You could just use fan art. Like
Deviant art, like big knees, psycho.
So where were we? We were talking about ironic weeaboos and
you were explaining power levels.
Oh yeah, well I mean I think we've got the idea basically out there, like what the power level is. Should we talk about hiding a power level now? Because I think that's really the meat and potatoes of this whole concept of power levels.
I'm ready to jump in the power level closet, so to speak.
Into the closet, yeah. Yeah, because I think it's important if you want to be normie presenting, because I mean chances are it's too late for you. You're like an unhelpable weeaboo and there's no hope for you. So the best you could do is kind of become, like I said, normie present. I don't know where to go from there.
Well, it's like everybody's seen the movie The Matrix, and it's like if everyone's a computer program, you can pretend along and pretend, but you'll always know. And that's what it's like to be a normie presenting weeaboo. Like you do have all these brain damages, but you're just kind of role playing along with everybody else. You're like, is this what I do? Ha ha, sports ball, ha, things like that. So you want to be normal as possible so that you can pass on your genetics through finding a female. And most females are not really into like knowing that you know how to do the Naruto hand signs for your chakra alignments. Like that doesn't play very well.
True. And I bet neither would doing a podcast about weeaboo stuff. But
are you kidding? I'm getting all the ladies from this.
Well, send a couple over my way. So I think on that note, it might be important to kind of establish, you might call it an alibi. So just something that could kind of throw people off the scent of you being a weeaboo. So like, let me tell you a story. I was at work the other day and one of my coworkers was saying, hey, what do you do like, at home or for fun? And I froze up. I had no idea what to do.
I can picture this.
I basically said, I don't know, nothing. It was terrible. It was like my greatest fear realized.
Man. Yeah. You think if this was your greatest fear, you would have prepared for this. You would have had something ready.
Well, even now, I don't know what to say. I don't have
You make something up. You're like, yo, I love Mongolian basket weaving. Like.
Yeah, no, that would make me even weirder.
It would, yeah.
Sitting like in a corner staring off at the wall. That's less weird than.
I go home and go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's pretty important to kind of build a cover like that.
Build a
An alter
persona,
ego.
if you will. Yeah, a normie alter ego. I just tell people like, oh shoot, actually, now that I'm on the spot, I don't really know what I do. I guess I don't really talk to other humans.
Exactly.
I guess I'm a neat. Like, I don't go outside. I think that's the core problem. You know, we're sitting here trying to give advice to other people, but we're antisocial. I think that might be a revelation.
Hold on. We're not giving advice. This is a discussion. You know, a roundtable discussion on the topic.
We're trying to
take any
brainstorm.
advice from this podcast, especially this episode.
We're not doctors. We just play one on YouTube.
Not even that. I play a weeaboo on YouTube.
So now that you're briefed with this like knowledge, like what you can't think of something now that would be like what you would want to say. Like you didn't go home and like think about it for days on end and like toil over it. Like what would you say now if somebody's like, oh, what do you do for fun? Right.
Well, I mean, I did think about it, but I can't come up with anything. I think I need to become a better person.
You need to unironically normie up.
Yeah, I know.
You need to do something that's not just like on the computer. Yeah, that's the problem that I've had for many years, where it's like, oh, you know, people want friends that are interesting and things like that. So they're like, oh, what do you do? So there's a book on how to win friends and influence people. A chapter where it's like how to have a good conversation. Where the writer of the book was talking to somebody, and they ended up talking about boats for like an hour. And at the end, this guy's like, wow, what a cool guy that was. Like he likes boats just the same way that I like boats. And his mom goes to him and is like, he doesn't really like boats. He talked about boats because he knows you liked talking about boats.
Right.
I just talk like I can kind of just avoid like what do you do by like just carrying on the conversation in the manner of which they want to hear. And I think that's an important social skill that we can all impart to our passengers.
Oh, certainly, yeah. But I mean, that to me is high level. So I think it's important to have a backup to fall back into.
You know, this is actually an increasingly difficult episode because in the show notes, I didn't prepare for having to actually have to explain how to be a well-rounded individual, because certainly we are not.
Well, I have stuff where it's like ways that I've tried to hide it or had to hide it. We could probably transition into one of those maybe, or like, what did you have?
So instead of trying to be a better person, how about we just try and hide the people that we actually are?
Well, that's a topic I'm an expert on. Oh, did you have a story, or were you queuing me up for a story?
Yeah, I was queuing you up. I was like, I put the ball in the T-ball stand.
Okay. I didn't know who had
You were
the
up
bat,
at plate. You were up at the bat.
So I guess let me tell a brief story here. This is only barely related, but it's funny enough, and I won't have a better spot to kind of shoehorn this in. This was another coworker was talking to me the other day. I was looking for a wallpaper for my computer because I had used
an anime wallpaper, right? Like one of those vectors. You're like, this is Chio-chan. She's my waifu.
No, actually, some dude was at my computer the other day prior to that, and he accidentally right-clicked like just a blank-looking element on a web page and accidentally right-clicked set as background. So I just had a blank purple and gray like wallpaper for like months. And then eventually I was like, you know, I'll find that actual wallpaper.
I'll change this so people don't think I'm a serial killer.
They already know that I am. Because there was a time for like a week when I was using my computer with inverted colors.
Oh my god. Dude, you're a psychopath.
I know, there's no hope for me.
Dude, I'm getting nervous. Like, I didn't know you were that far gone.
Don't look behind you.
We're gonna get comments from the passengers like, what? I use inverted colors. I don't understand.
Hey, what if you have vision problems?
Yeah, but you don't.
I might.
You might now, yeah. After using, yeah.
Anyway, I was looking up wallpapers, and he was like, I just did like an image search for like cool wallpapers. I didn't have anything in mind. I generally like landscapes.
It's like Goku with a bunch of lens flares.
No, it's not even anime related. I was scrolling down, and there was a pony one, My Little Pony.
Well, that's
like,
anime.
He's like, oh, is that Rainbow Dash?
Ah!
I being normie presenting to the extent that I can.
You're like, what's that?
As my normie cover, I don't know any ponies. Now, just to be clear, in the real life canon of real life, I'm not a brony, but I mean, just through osmosis,
you do
I
know the pony.
names.
I can name the ponies, yeah, and I'm not a brony.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to make that clear.
You were counter signaling.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, well, I guess the rainbows, on the pony would imply that or something.
Oh
like that.
no, that's not a counter signal. You like that was a cover. That felt like a cover. If you're like,
I guess.
through deductive reasoning, like he's probably like, oh, that dude's a freak. Like,
Well, I never claimed to be a normie, but I try sometimes to cover my knowledge. So that was just a little brief example of power level hiding.
now I don't know if this will dox you. I'll cut this out, but you work in a industry that has computer access and like you share files. Now there's an individual who uses file naming contingencies that are of what?
Oh, yeah. So that guy, all of the names that he uses are various Toho characters, and it's not just like one or two that are his waifu. I've seen like maybe 15 different names that he uses, and I would probably get along well with the guy. I don't like Toho because I don't know about Toho, but he seems like a weeaboo. And the guy who knew the ponies, that guy had One Punch Man as his like login screen on his computer for like at least a year. So I think there's a lesson to be learned here.
They're both our passengers.
Well, my point is like I'm gonna
We're
throw
all
away
a
the
little
past
weeaboo.
30 minutes that we just said, where it's like maybe you don't have to hide your power level. Maybe in the society in which we live.
that was going to be the ending thing where it's like maybe the real weeaboo was you, John. You are the demons. Like it's like maybe we can all just be accepting of who we are.
Well, I don't know if that's a good message though, because I don't know if I want to promote being a weeaboo. I think it's something that you have to reluctantly accept that you are and try to make yourself better. But I don't think it's something you should lean into. It seems like it's bad for society.
I don't think it's inherently bad. I think like with anything, overindulging in one thing makes you a not well-rounded enough character. We joke, but I unironically don't think that, anybody, even the hardest core weeaboos are like too bad off. Like, they're just passionate about something that they like. And, we could all hope to find happiness in something in a similar vein.
I disagree.
The more you know. Like,
no, I can't get behind that line of thinking. But I'm self-hating weeaboo. That's why. I guess then to kill the dead air, I'll hard transition into another story of me hiding my power levels, since that seems to be what I have in regards to this topic. So there was one time in high school. This is like when I first started to want to learn Japanese. I was going to import some games for like basically the first time, like some GBA games. I was writing down like some vocab words that I thought I might need in like a notebook. And since I was just like some kind of weird autismo, I carried it in my backpack to school, right? And then I bet you could know where this is going. One of my friends snatched a few things from my backpack,
hey, what's
during
this?
one period. And I was so desperate to get it back without him looking at it. I was like terrified this whole time. I was like trying to get it back, but like you can't pretend too hard, or I mean like you can't be too forceful about it, because then that would be suspicious.
It's like,
So
why do you want this
eventually I
back
got
so
it.
bad? What's in it?
Yeah, I know.
Is it your diary? No, it's my journal.
It's my Chunibyo like Dark Knight notebook, like that's what it felt like basically.
Well, do you want to talk about the phase where you wore an eye patch to school every day?
Well, yeah, but let me finish the story. Well, actually, the story ended. I eventually got it back, and I don't even think he looked at it. But it was a close call. Yeah, and then the eye patch. I wore a Naruto headband over. I was actually the coolest kid.
I know, that's right. You did win a prom king, isn't that right? With your Naruto headband.
Yeah, but it was also because I had the jacket of the teachers, whatever they were called. No, okay, so that last story was completely fiction, just to be clear.
You want to know what's not a fiction is there was for at least a week in high school where I would wear my jacket on one sleeve. Like it would be like, listen, because it wasn't too hot. And then somebody pointed out, it's like somebody said, "You look like the dude from Final Fantasy." Immediately stopped. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's
and then
cool."
You started
and then I was
wearing
like,
no sleeves.
Yeah.
You start to just drape it over you like a one of the thugs or whatever they are, like the anime dudes.
Yeah, that's
delinquent.
Yeah, I was like, I can't be having this now that somebody knows my deep secret. Like,
yeah, I've been found out.
yeah.
Call him a weeaboo, call him whatever, and watch insults, whatever. I don't know.
Like pelt off of him like rainwater off of a duck, but call him a weeaboo and watch him recoil as he's been found out. I will talk about the guy who the guy who called me out of looking like a Final Fantasy character, whatever, Final Fantasy 9 or whoever, I forget his actual name. It was the red Final Fantasy character in Final Fantasy 10. The drinker.
Yeah, I remember that. I never played the game, so I mean I don't know, but I do remember him. As
I played 10 about halfway through, but it was like I was like one disc away or something. I just you lose interest. Anyway, that I've known that friend for I don't know over a decade now, and he is of the Asian persuasion, so he has a carte blanche. Like I don't know if that's the right word for that, but he de facto enjoys anime, but he's got very normie taste. Like, yeah, dude, I love Dragon Ball Z, and I was like, yeah, so does everybody. That's like the number one.
But this guy's a complete weirdo. Also, like
he
unironically wore like a sleeve, like it's like a compression sleeve or something. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't. Yeah.
It's like an external sleeve that isn't connected to a shirt. He would just wear one on one arm.
Eccentric. He's an eccentric extrovert.
Yeah.
That there was about a year where he would shave off one eyebrow because he saw it in an anime. Yeah.
Oh no. How does he get away with it though?
Because he's so outgoing
like that.
And he had abs, so it's like girls just thought he was like, oh, you're so quirky. Where it's like,
that's
dude,
what it is, man.
If we tried to do that,
I'm telling you, that's if we're segwayable right now. I want to talk about. I think the real secret is to lift.
Dude, you need to be lifting for your
waifus. If you look like a JoJo
waifus.
character, you could do anything.
Dude, if you have big biceps, you have abs showing, like anything you do is going to be amazing. And they'll be like, wow, he's so thoughtful. He's so cultured. He watches these Japanese cartoons. Like he understands it. Yeah. Like, wow, he's so cultured. Whereas if you're like, slovenly,
if you're like
people
us,
will think it's, if you're like,
if you're like Joe Everyman.
Well, someday when we do the face reveals for the Patreon subscribers, well, they'll be like, wow, these guys were so handsome. I can't believe they like anime.
True. Well, like I said, we both said this, I think in episode 1, actually, where we're both like super chads, and these are characters that we put on.
Well, I prefer the term ultra chad.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I wanted to be humble, excuse me.
I'm the alpha beta.
I think, though, I don't know how this could be podcast content, but I want to use the podcast as incentive or what's the word where you keep me accountable. So I want to use the podcast as accountability to get me to lift or something, so I can become the JoJo character. So I can become the normie.
We'll have to make a segment of achieving normies, where you just try and lift, and maybe the passenger that lifts the most that week gets something.
The biggest guy of the week award.
You get
the idea.
Yeah, and then you get a gift card to Applebee's for $5.
I don't know. That's a little too rich for my blood.
I don't know.
But that's the real reason I wanted to do this episode, so we could get jacked.
It is important.
I did like a pose. You didn't see it.
I've been dabbing this whole episode, but you haven't seen it.
I've been flossing. The floss dance.
You're flossing, but I dab during the OP where I'm reading. This is the flight plan. I dab after every. So just imagine me dabbing after every.
I can hear it in your voice when you do the intro.
Yeah, exactly. You hear the whooshing noises of my dabs go by.
Yeah.
Flossing.
What about T-posing, man? That came and went.
Oh, we'll bring it back. I really miss T-posing. You get the Halo theme where you're representing, reclaiming your birthright.
I maybe know what you mean. The ones where they were standing in like urinals.
Exactly. Reclaim your birthright. Yeah. Or it's like the entire high school class walks out of the bathroom T-posing.
I think it was a classroom, but yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's how to be normie. That's how to hide your power level. It's just T-pose.
If you're a teenager, yeah. But if you're
aren't we teenagers? How old are we? We're like 60-year-old boomers.
So you know how in anime they'll be like 18 but they'll look like, or no, in shonen it's often the opposite where they're like 14 but they look like they're 18.
I swear to God, Ichigo looks like he's a 35-year-old man, and he's like, yeah, I'm 14 in the first episode. I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah. So I think we're like
the opposite.
That or the opposite. I don't know. We're old.
We have the brain of children.
Exactly. I'm too old to figure out the math there. That's how old we are.
I had another Asian friend who was in the same friend group, but he would hide under your bed. This was in college, but he would hide under your bed, and then he'd like take pictures of you sleeping. And,
Wait, hold on, what? Not me, you as in like the abstract you or whatever, not me specifically.
No, I mean he would hide under all of our beds, but he was big into anime. He was also Asian, but he'd put like hentai on like the main projector TV in the living room, and just you'd walk in and it'd be like, yeah. So that's how not to hide your power level. But if you do want to hide your power level, you know, when you're talking to your friends and you're trying to like suss out if like people like are cool, if they're like hip, if they know what the animes are like, don't say anime image boards IRL. Say like Mongolian basket weaving MySpace pages, you know, to stay hip, to stay with all the kids. Use terminology that like hides your power level.
What you're saying is like dog whistles, basically.
Yeah, dude. I like my chakras aligned today, and it'd be like, whoa, do you watch Naruto?
No, if you say that, then they're gonna think like, oh, you do yoga? Whoa.
Like, yeah, I do yoga these balls.
So stupid. Not even close. Cut this whole episode. We're done.
It's over. This is it. Final episode. Good night, guys. Good night.
We're not even gonna post this. That was so bad. I don't know where to go from that. Well, talking about your college buddy there, that reminded me of maybe my final little story of me trying to hide my power level. It is known that when I was in college, I took Japanese class. There, I did like a study group kind of thing. It was like an after hours optional thing. In it was one of your college friends who I didn't know. I knew of this person, like I knew this person's name, but I would not have been able to pick them up from a lineup. And and he didn't know me either, so that was the beauty of it. So we went to like a couple meetings together, and you know, we did the study group thing that you do, you know, you study and all that. And then one time we were moving from like, you know, one study place in the library to another, and we were just like chit-chatting. He's like, you know, you remind me a lot of Aiden, my friend Aiden. He actually used like your last name. I was like, oh shoot. I've been found out, because it's like you were the only person who knew that I was in Japanese class. So it's like now there was a vector between somebody who knew me and like my secret life. So I was really freaking out. Like I was really nervous about the whole thing. And luckily though, I played it off awkwardly, like some kind of autism. I was like,
oh, no, cool. That's neat.
Yeah. What are you supposed to say anyway in a normal situation? Hey, you remind me of my friend Steve. Oh, okay, cool. Like what? I don't know who Steve is.
Yeah, but see, like in 99.9% of those scenarios that somebody says, you remind me of my friend so and so, like that leads to nowhere. But he just hit on like the 1.10001% chance. You were like best friends with like this guy. Clearly, like your consciousnesses are rubbing off on each other, and it's like to the point where he recognized my personality had imprinted on you. Like
more likely the opposite.
Well, either way, he's like, yeah, you guys hang out so much that you seem similar people. Like,
yeah, it was that. I didn't know what to do with that, but luckily I kind of just like let it slide, and then, you know, we finished the study group, whatever. Fast forward to, I don't know, weeks later, just for the passengers' edification, you and I lived like a block or two apart at that time, just different college apartments. It was within walking distance, so I was walking back from hanging out at your place. I was walking back to my
Tokyo.
place. Yeah, of course. Because, you know, Tokyo's so small, you walk everywhere anyway. I was taking the Shinkansen, the subway. No, anyway, I was walking back. Who do I get stopped by but this weeaboo club friend of yours? And he was with your other friend, your Asian friend, the eccentric one. And they both knew me from completely different lives, basically.
I know. Completely different Venn diagrams.
I know. And I was like, oh no. So they're like,
oh no.
Hey, what are you doing here? I was like, oh, you know, just walking home, whatever. It's like, and I was like trying to slip out of there. I was like, oh, I had to extricate myself from that social situation faster than normal. Yeah, and I was so scared that one of them would say, oh, how do you know Tom? Oh, I know him from Weeaboo Club. Oh, I know, you know, it's like
your cover would be blown.
Yeah, that was a very spooky situation, but luckily I got out in time. They might have still had that conversation. Hey, where do you know him from? But I wasn't there to hear that. So as far as I know, I made it out alive.
It doesn't exist. Yeah.
To this day, I don't think they know.
They probably didn't care enough to put two and two together.
That's true. And no, that's another thing about the whole hiding your power level thing. Probably no one cares.
That's very true. I think it's like the only person who cares about your power level is you. Just
Actually,
as long
I
as you're
take
not
it
a
back.
spurg.
I take it back because I care. I judge people, so people judge me, right?
Look at it this way. It's like as long as you're a good person and you're not like being completely autistic about it, like you're gonna be all right
Maybe.
in some situations. In Minecraft.
But I think the moral of the story is that you should lift, get jacked, get the JoJo physique, and then you could even wear like some Astolfo cosplay and no one will care.
No.
Maybe that's too extreme.
You can wear a Naruto headband if you're jacked and you have
I mean,
a
I
six-pack
was
abs.
hyperbolizing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah.
You
Probably
can do
don't
that.
wear the headband.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't do it, but you might be able to. Somebody be like, "Oh, what's that?" It'd be like, "It's a traditional ninja garb," and then they'd be like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I think even Naruto would be too much. You know what I unironically want though? I want one of those orange jackets from
Naruto.
Antarctica Girls.
I mean, isn't that just an orange jacket?
Basically, they're extremely normie passing.
Yeah, because I mean, people wear the orange jackets all the time anyway. You know what didn't make sense
there's
is
a cartoon penguin on them though.
well, I mean, it's you're like, yeah, it's a cold weather jacket. Penguins aren't implicitly weeaboo.
True.
Unless
but
you hold up
one
a
of the-
spork.
One of the variants does have lots of Japanese text on the back. but
Well,
I
that's
think
just
there
the
are
penguin.
variants without.
That's the penguin of doom, where you need to hold up a spork and eat your
no.
waffles.
Nope.
But you know what never made sense to me was like Naruto is like a ninja, right? So why is he wearing bright orange like jacket? And it's probably hot they were like in the jungle too, in the forest. Like you're wearing a big fleece jacket. It doesn't seem very smart, but who knows? It's a Mongolian cartoon, so who knows?
That's probably why. Because in Mongolia they have like really widely or brightly colored clothing.
You know what else they have in Mongolia is sword dads.
Oh, excellent!
What a great transition to.
A hard transition would have been better. You could just like throw in a beep as a transition, and that would have been better.
Probably. Do you have anything else that you want? This was the Mega Minute. if you didn't have anything else, we're gonna do a hard drift, a hard Tokyo drift into the Manga Minute.
Deja vu, dude. I've seen that
Deja
segue
vu.
before.
I've been in this place before.
Manga Minute. This is a mess.
This week's Manga Minute is brought to you by Devin Jackson. He says, "Boy, I've got a manga for you. Cool sword, powerful lowly, not really a harem, but sorta kinda, and no dragons with human heads." So that was a good little reference there.
I mean, that's a plus in my book.
Yeah. Oh god,
No
that was so
dragons
creepy.
with
Yeah.
heads. Yeah.
Tensai Shirata Kindishana Tatabata Kata Baka Waka Waka Na. I don't know how to pronounce Japanese words.
Beautiful.
Or it's also called as I was a sword when I was reincarnated, which is you can guess an isekai. He
Or,
also
as
said
you alluded to earlier, an alternative name as listed on MangaDex is Sword Dad.
if you didn't miss that chance, which is completely ridiculous. I don't even know. It doesn't even have like the daughteru connotations. It's more like
it sounds like that's like something that we would come up with, like with Sword Girl or Antarctica Girls. It's
I
like
really liked Sword
Dad.
Girl as the manga title, though. I thought that was really legit when we
No,
did
I think
Tsurugi no Nai.
No, that's a bad title.
Well, anyway, he also mentions, I didn't mention this when we were doing the comment corner, but he also says to you, also traps are only not gay if you don't know they're a trap and they assume they're female. However, if you find out the true gender and you keep going, you're 2000% mega gay. I replied, yeah, I think I've heard of that manga. I'll investigate it. But I really did LOL at the 2000% mega gay. Like I thought that was funny. I thought that was a good line. Devin recommended this manga that we're checking out. It's Tensai Shitara Kin Deshita, something like that. Sword Dad.
Yep, Sword Dad. Look it up.
When he realized it, the protagonist was in another world and had become a sword that was stabbed into an altar in the Great Plain crowded with devil beasts. The world he was in had a game-like system. Go figure. HP, MP, strength, vitality, agility, intelligence, dexterity, titles, and equipment. Follow his instincts as a living sword. He traveled to find the one who could find to be his wielder until he met with a cat girl that was about to be attacked by a bear-type devil beast. Join the adventures of the Sword Man. That's the description.
Is this of the Sword Man?
No, I added that. It's from the author Tanaka Yu and the artist Maruyatama Tomo because I can't pronounce anything.
Wow, that's excessive information.
Yeah, and it looks like the scan group or the uploader is at least Wakga, and then it seems like LH Translations picks it up. So there's a love-hate relationship with LH Translation community. So you can do what with you will. It's basically an isekai where instead of being reincarnated as a hot spring or like a girl in World War II with magic guns, he's reincarnated.
I think it was World War One.
Okay, well, okay. Thank you for counter signaling.
Hey, I didn't want to have to do a corrections corner for you next week. I'm looking out for you.
But instead of all that, he's reincarnated as a sword, which means, he can't basically move around. He's just kind of a stationary thing, but he's got some extra powers, and he's a sword. Actually, early on, there was a chance where he made a body double of himself, like a spirit double, to carry the sword around, which is his body, but it was so weak it like couldn't do anything. So why don't you give us your take of the manga, Tom?
He can move around, just to be clear, because he has some kind of like psycho powers, like psycho whatever. And I mean, he seems actually very capable. When you hear the premise, maybe this is like an isekai thing, like a well-established idea, but like you hear something like, oh, I got turned into a hot springs, I got turned into a sword, you think that the character's immobile and unable to do anything, but since he's a magic sword, he can do all this kind of stuff, and he has like blue mage powers where he can learn abilities and stuff from the monsters that he kills. So I thought that was like, I guess it's a necessity, really, a plot necessity, that he has to have those kind of powers, because otherwise he would just be a talking sword.
Right.
But yeah, so there's the cat girl, Fran, I believe her name was.
Fran.
And then she picks up the sword, and then through the sword, like, she gains some powers and stuff. And it almost seems like the isekai thing where it's like, oh, he gets isekai'd, but he also has a cheat power. I got that feel from it.
What would his cheat power be in this scenario? Just like extra strength? Like, he's a very strong sword. He's like a max level sword, it feels like.
Yeah.
It's like Excalibur. He was reincarnated as Excalibur, would basically be the way to go.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I think the blacksmith early on said something like there's like 5 legendary swords, but they're better than how I perceive you right now. I mean, it could be that he secretly will be like one of the 5 swords.
Well, yeah, he's going to be like one of the most powerful swords, because he's probably, at least, he's the only one we know of that's like conscious, so. Well,
that, and he has growth potential. Like, if you can level up, then, I mean, that seems like you have a huge advantage over any other sword.
It's very true.
I don't know. I don't have many kind things to say about this, because it's not my kind of genre. So,
well, it is a very nice. like a generic isekai type deal. What I do like about it is that I do always enjoy a cute lolly cat girl.
Sure, she's pretty cute. I'll grant you that.
If you make it past like chapter 10, there's one scene where they're in a bathhouse, and it's very heavy in the plot, full capital letters. It's not safe for work, so don't read it there.
Oh my, don't read it at work. Don't read manga at work anyway.
Yeah, don't
work in a manga factory.
I'm just picturing like a bunch of like 12-year-old kids like stapling manga pages together like on a conveyor belt.
Now I'm picturing that inside SpongeBob's mind, the office. You're just like running around, there's fires everywhere.
Burn it! What do we do? Shred this? We don't know it. Forget everything you think you know about Krabby Patties, and it's like he's shredding all the information in his mind.
That's a child labor sweat factory manga factory.
Exactly. There's also a scene where you said you took a couple screenshots of things you wanted to talk about, but like I also almost considered taking some screenshots. There's just a couple scenes where I'm like, woo, like, does this have the Eche tag or what?
That's not what I meant. Just to be clear, I take screenshots as reminders of things to talk about.
That's what I meant.
Keep them, not to store them on my hard drive as I don't know, pictures to go back to.
There's about 20 chapters of it out right now, and I got to about 14. But in one of the latest chapters, the cat girl with the isekai sword MC protagonist is fighting like a high-end level like boss monster, goblin boss. Normally it seems like a generic isekai. You're like, okay, I'm leveling up here, we're getting all the party, but it's like in one of these scenes the dude like chops her hands off. Like, I was like, what the
main character's hands?
Yeah, the chops the main character's hands off, and I was like, this is quite a twist from where I would have considered this manga going.
Well,
I was like,
even chapter 1 though did have like gore, if that's what you mean, or do you mean just the hand part? Of the main character?
It's like to wound such a so it does have like a little bit of gore, like the sword shoots off a bullet and like blows up a goblin's head, but it's like, okay, that's graphic, but it's a goblin, like nobody cares.
No, episode 1, the slave owner guy got sliced in two. Like his head got sliced.
Yeah, but he's a bad guy, so you're
okay.
like,
All right.
well, for me, it's like if an MC gets something tragically done, that's like another level of, because you're supposed to like, this is the hero, this is who you're supposed to insert as, this is who you're supposed to be a hero as,
Insert as a tiny little
and it's like
cat girl.
It's a two-handed sword that he's reincarnated to, and it's like the demon boss like comes up behind her and like slices up like both her arms. I was like, oh, what is this?
Well, since it's a magic sword, it's really a zero-handed sword. Luckily.
Well, exactly, because it kind of cops out. A couple pages later, the hands get like, oh, I magically reincarnated your hands. I was like, so nothing in this manga matters.
There's foreshadowing, because the first night that they like spend together in the town, like at an inn, they're talking about what kind of magics they should focus on first, and he says we should do healing magic.
So it's like, that's what, yeah, okay, but even then, it's like, if you're gonna do something so devastating, and then I don't know. I mean, there was no emotional buildup. Like I wasn't like, whoa. I saw that panel specifically. I'm a little bit of a speeder. I saw that panel specifically. I was like, wow, okay, this is like an edgy turn for this. Like, how are you going to get out of this? And it's like, oh, it just recovers? I was actually hoping they would do something more smart. Like, now they have to outsmart the enemy because she doesn't have her hands because they're regrowing or something. You know what manga did that very well was Claymore, where like they could recover, but it wasn't immediately. Like, they could recover some, like, it's like a lizard, like growing their tail back. You know, it was like slower over time. So they'd have to win the battle with the one arm or something. Which I thought would have been more interesting. Yeah, if they could have outsmarted that bad guy, that would have like pushed this manga from like generic to like something that's like really like I thought would be more interesting. Like that would have given it the other star.
Yeah, I haven't seen the whole thing, but Adventure Time did it pretty well too.
Oh, Adventure Time does it actually pretty well. I mean, say what you want about like CalArt's style. The grass sword arm like by himself, and like then the robot hand I think he had for a season. Like that was very interesting.
I think like every season it was like a different arm, I think.
Yeah, that was really cool. So it's like I would be down for something like that. I mean, I don't want to see my like little cat girl Loli like hurt too much, but I think it would have been better story wise if they would have recovered her arms right after the battle, or like if they had made it like more than just a couple pages.
Oh, was that in the same battle? That's pretty weak.
Yeah, it's like it's really just a couple of, I don't want to say panels, but it's like a page or two. It's like very quick. I was like, oh, that could have been something really interesting if you were gonna go that like graphic route. It toys with graphicalness. Wow, okay, that goblin got his head blown up, but like everything else is lighthearted, and I know everybody else is gonna like survive and everybody's gonna win and things like that.
Right. That to me kind of seems like an isekai, I don't know, style.
A trope, yeah. Yeah, I absolutely see that. I see that a lot in the different things like that. And it just feels very generic to me. I kind of like it. I've read a couple chapters before this was recommended. I read like 3 chapters. I don't think any more were out at the time, so obviously I didn't do it. One, I'd want to see more romance. Although I don't know how you're going to romance a sword, and I don't want to watch the little cat girl get NTR'd, so I don't know how that's going to go. I think eventually, like, maybe they would
double spell.
Yeah, I think he's going to figure out some way to like reincarnate himself, and then they go on a travel together. I think that'd be cool. I'd watch it.
This is where the sword dad title comes in, because from what I've read, it seems like it's more like a father-daughter protective relationship.
I don't think that bothers the Japanese. I don't think that's a trope that they
Well, I just don't think that it would evolve or devolve depending on your perspective. I don't think it would change into that.
Yeah, that's very possible. I didn't look and I didn't see, but like, let's see real quick. Does it have the? It does not have the romance tag on Manga Dex. Right. So it's just action, adventure, comedy, fantasy, isekai, and it's also tagged as a cooking manga. However, I guess I haven't gotten to that chapter yet.
Well, he has talked about maxing his cooking skill so he could become a good cooking knife, but that was more of a joke.
Well, there's a fun thing. It does have a lot of little comedy bits and some funny things like that, and so he's got there's eyes on the sword so he can see out. What I thought was funny is the way that the little cat Loli wraps up the sword. So it's like in the bandages, like you'd see a normal like cloud stripe sword type things like that, but it's like his eyes are poking out of it. So there's a lot of little touches in the art style that I think are really good, and like little cutesy fun little things. Like,
yeah, I mean, if I liked isekais, I think I would enjoy this manga, but there's just something about the whole isekai genre that too big of a hurdle for me at this time.
I could see something like that, and especially if you're not like, so I always strive to be contrarian and have the opposite view of the mainstream, and you can tell that there's a trend in manga right now to take light novel isekais and turn them into mangas, and that's exactly what this is. They bring in the author Tanaka, and then they bring in an artist, and they just try and animate like this. I think Devin was right. It's not really a harem. I haven't seen that in this regard, although I'm only on like chapter like 15 out of 20 right now. I think LA's translation picked this up. Apparently a very popular manga. It's got 260,000 views and like 11,000 bookmarks that people are following it. So
more bookmarks than I have views basically on my mangas that I scan late. That hurts. I need to do an isekai, that's what it is.
That's what what's really popular now. The first time I saw isekai as a premise, I was very excited seeing it. Like I read them all. Yeah. Like that was back when like Gate first came out and I was like, this is amazing.
Dude, I watched Sword Art Online.
I never did that, but that premise is so amazing that you're like, wow, this is the coolest thing. Because I mean, in real life, I've always been like, if real life were an MMO and I could see my stats, like I'd be in the gym every day. I'd be pumping iron. I'd be getting my strength up. I'd be getting my magic. Even though I know in reality, I just really just stay home and shit post online. I mean, I'd like to pretend. I like to fantasize. I like to dab in the air while I'm talking. But
maybe if you had a harem of fantasy waifus and cat girls.
Fantasy cat girls, yeah. I mean, shoot, I'd be learning magic I could learn magic IRL if I had a harem of cat girls.
Yeah.
That in itself is magic.
Or advanced science.
What's the saying where it's like science is just advanced magic, something like that?
Something like that. The only comments I've left on the manga are about the scanlation itself. So, did you have anything else on like the manga content?
No, but I'd actually be interested to see what you think of the scanlation quality.
Okay, well, it seems pretty good actually, but I had 2 points of interest. One of them was one of the lines. The sword says, "Holy shock." And I don't know why, but I thought that was hilarious. I don't know. Doesn't do anything for you?
Holy shock?
Yeah. That's funny, dude.
Is it? In what manner?
Well, it's a very unorthodox phrase. I've never heard that before.
It's just a spell. That's like fire bolt or like.
I don't think he was casting a spell, was he?
Like holy shock.
To go
like,
back. It sounds like a spell. It sounds like a spell, but I thought he was surprised. I'm gonna have to reread it.
I mean, maybe it was a double entendre because so look, holy shock is like a standard pre-spell, at least in World of Warcraft. So it's Warcraft. Like, well, yeah, but or in D&D and things like that. So I'm thinking that if he did use it in a scenario where he was shocked, that would be punny. That would be good. If he used it in that scenario, then I can see how that would be comical and that would warrant the tag thing.
I'm looking at it because this was one of the things that I screenshotted. He says, "What was my attack again?" As in his attack score. And then he says, "Let me check real quick." And then it shows his little stats page. And then he says, "Holy shock! I thought it was supposed to be a legendary sword, but all the weapons have a higher attack than me."
Okay, so that is yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so then that is funny. That's funny on multiple levels then. Now that I've explained a little bit of the D&D background and things like that might even be funny.
Yeah, nerd.
What chapter did you get to? Do you know?
I think it was like 6 or 7 that I read.
So at around chapter 11 or 10, they switch translation companies. It goes to LH Translation, Wakaga.
Waka. It's a like Korean Pac-Man. He says waka waka waka.
So
waka.
I don't know what you know about the scanlation industry, but LH Translation gets a bad rap for a lot of different things. But I'm not ready to pass judgment on them yet. So we're not gonna. I won't counter signal.
That could be a good episode. You know?
I think it very well.
If we knew any others,
episode.
if we knew of any other scanlation groups, we could do like a rival scanlation groups episode where we just like it's like a diss tape or a diss track.
Shoot, yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know. See, I'm not ready to throw them under the bus yet. I haven't done my research yet.
Well, it can be done in good fun, like in good faith, because that's it's like a fake internet war or a fake radio war.
Fake blood sports.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But so I had one more comment. So it's at the end of chapter 1. So in like games or in movies, they have like the delayed title card. You familiar with that idea?
Why don't you just explain it to the audience?
Okay, so it's like after the prologue, basically, then it shows like the title of the game.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yes.
They did something like this basically. So at the end of chapter 1, the sword's saying like, I got isekai'd into a sword, and the girl Fran, she's like, well, that's a long story, so just tell me in 10 words or less. And then the next speech bubble is something like, it's something to the effect of something like that. Which is funny phrasing it the way I just did. The scanlators really botched it, and I say this out of love. I'm not like criticizing, but A, she says say it in 10 characters or less, and then B, it shows the title, which is I got isekai'd as a sword, basically. So that was like the punchline. It was like the title card was him answering his background story in 10 characters or less. But they said 10 words or less, and then they didn't even translate the title, and it's like, oh no, you guys missed the joke.
I mean,
and I know I've done stuff like that too, but I haven't caught it. So it's like, I'm saying this from a place of like empathy.
That goes back to what we talked about with LN titles in a previous episode, where it's like the long LN titles are basically the elevator pitch of the series.
Yeah. I can only imagine as an uneducated, filthy pleb reader like you, like how you would have understood that scene word.
I only read the manga in the original language, in the original German.
I downloaded the raws just to check that line because I had a suspicion. I had a suspicion that she said 10 characters or less, not 10 words, and then the actual title is 9 characters.
Yeah, but
so
how would you translate? How would you translate like 10
just
characters?
Just saying like 2 words or less, and then it's like, oh, I got isekai'd as a sword. You don't say 10 characters. You say however many words the title is, and then you just say the title in text.
Oh, I feel like that's, I don't know.
No,
I feel like that.
It's easy. It would have worked.
I see where you're coming from. It would have worked, but that's high effort.
Yeah, but the way that they did it doesn't make sense.
Fair enough. I'll give you that. I'll be the mediator for your throwing the hands at each other.
No, and like I said, I mean, I'm not criticizing. I literally am, but I mean, that's not the intent.
The latest chapter of this manga has 36 comments, which is probably more than all of ours combined, and 22k views. And it was a month ago, actually.
Dagger to my heart, dude. Need to do isekais. That's what it comes down to.
We need an isekai harem, like something like that, like with a
Will
cute
I
girl.
sell out for views? Probably.
I mean, maybe, yeah. Look at it this way. If a lot of people like the my desire to do this is directly related to the amount of dopamine that gets received when I see a new subscriber. So tell your friends.
Well, right. Well, I mean, you're not even involved in the manga process, so definitely for you, all you can
I read the manga. I read the manga occasionally. Sometimes.
And the word "read" is very there's a lot of scare quotes around that.
Exactly.
Like, you read.
I read. Well, speaking of getting new subscribers and all of that, things like, if this were a metaphorical plane flight and we were to metaphorically crash, where would they be able to find the black box of the airplane that contained the information that was delivered?
Where did we crash? Was it like into a mountainside, into the ocean, into a field?
It was probably in the mountains of Les Bains in France.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. I don't know wherever they found the black box in that scenario, but if we were to crash into the internet, oh, this is like so exasperating. These
that's part of it.
Not even puns at this point. It's just like you know that Empire of Dust with the Chinese guy, that quote where he's like, "It's all so tiresome."
No, you gotta have the energy. Like, this is part of the build-up. Like, we need to make the story. Like,
or maybe man's part of the goof, even though it's half true.
It's like we've talked about like having the intro as a stagnant like clip that I just post in, and same with the ending. But this brings so much to like this makes us relatable humans, so that the people listening, all of our passengers, know that there are indeed somebody driving this plane into the ground.
So everyone listening can know that yes, there are actually people more autistic than you are. So have hope. Yeah. So Manga Dex is where I post the anime, or not the animes, the mangas. Gap.ai is where I have them for download, and I also put news updates there. Not that we have any, but that's where I would put them.
Become a funker now at youtube.com/bigguy.
mamafunker.com/bigguy for you. Yeah, YouTube, and the podcast is on Anchor FM. Yeah, so that's it. We did it.
It's all good stuff. I think this is a very successful episode and a very successful crash.
It's definitely the best this week, I would say.
The
Top
best
3.
episode this week. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I will definitely agree with that.
All right, so I think it's time.
It's time to crash this plane. With how many survivors do you want this week?
Oh, I kind of want to survive, so let's do one.
One survivor? I mean, it kind of goes against our beat. I mean, it's...
They expect one of us outside of the wreckage. We'll crash. Okay, fine. All right, we'll crash this podcast with no survivors.